first one that came to mind, you asked me about this, was a client that is an older gentleman and that he's a manufacturing type of a client, had gone down, but he wanted to keep all of his people because he had invested greatly in them because of all the training and stuff. So that was one thing. And it was just truthfully because I asked him questions. Looking at the financial statements on a monthly basis, looking down where he was at, calling him, discussing problems. Just, well, have you thought about this? There's another thing. At the time, they had the idle loans, which were their loans that pay off over a number of years and pretty cheap and stuff. But we thought the PPP would be a great one for him. So that's what we did. And I found him a new banker and everything's going great. And actually, we're in the process right now today applying for the forgiveness. So he won't owe any of that back by the time we get done. So all worked out good. So he had approached his current banker about getting the PPP loan. Now, this gentleman is an older gentleman, not overly tech savvy and whatnot, and it didn't work out. Well, he's well enough, I guess is what I would put it. He didn't really pursue the PPP loan anymore because it just kind of became more of a problem than what he thought it was worth, and he didn't even know what he could have gotten with it. So after the first cycle of so many of my other clients just applying for the PPP loan, I approached this gentleman and said, "Are you interested?" And so he told me that I had approached this bank and the bank was not real helpful with him. I says, "Okay, tell you what, I'll do it for you." I charged him a little bit of a fee, but I'll put it together and I'll find a banker for you. So I did, and we put it all together, and I got him over $150,000. So it was a huge number and tremendously helped him this year because of help him pay a lot of wages and stuff because he was affected by COVID and the downturn and orders. Reading, studying, being in associations, just kind of keep your ear to the ground and things that are coming through and have relationships with, other different contexts, bankers, insurance people, attorneys. And then, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know everything. Nobody does. But the best thing that I do have is I have a lot of a network, you might call a back office, the people that if I don't know, they probably do. And we can get something to work toward together and find an answer for you that you need. They probably won't ever ask it. If they do, maybe it's slightly off the cuff. Not to degrade most of my brethren, but a lot of accounting, truthfully, is kind of looking in the rearview mirror and looking what happened instead of looking forward. And so that is my attitude toward financial statements, is that those are effectively an employee review for the business owner. So I try and teach them their numbers, what the numbers that are really important to them, what do they have control on daily, weekly, monthly, as opposed to just the bottom line. What are those numbers? What can they do? And how can we change? If you've got $1 million company, $1 million in sales, and if we just change 1 percentage point, that's $10,000 in a year. But $10,000 broken up over 365 days is not very much money. $20-$30 a day. It's not much, So these little tiny changes that we have to look at and then try and forecast out and say, like, okay, I've got this many orders, and what do you think you're going to have, and whatever it is, and try and look forward. We talk about break even quite a bit, actually, is where is your break even point? When do you start making $1? A lot of business owners don't know that number. They don't even know what the concept is, but it's the point in time where you start making $1. There's, you've got your fixed costs like your rent and utilities and things that normally don't change over the course of a year very much. Then you got your variable costs, which are usually the cost of goods sold, the product that you're selling, then the amount of sales, and where all of that intersects that's called the break-even point. And we look at that a lot and say, okay, well, if we're able to either lower your fixed costs, then obviously you have to make that much less. You don't have to make as much, break even, and hopefully there's some profit there. By the same token, if you want to buy a piece of equipment, how many more in sales do you need to get to keep up with the same profit that you had before? What's going on there? And we can talk about that and the flexing of it and to be more efficient. So maybe it's like going back on jobs. Okay. If you do something and then it's not wrong and your employees, and so you've got quality control issues going on, and you can talk to people about that and say, okay, what can we do to try and change that, to tweak it slightly? That's on the business owner because they're in it every day. Measure things and just say, this is a little out of control. What can we do to slightly change that dial? And like I says, even 1% sometimes can make all the difference in the world.